So chart, so you've got environmental density, that's a default. Area pie, submit, and then you'll put, for example, all the pavement I want to figure out how they relate to themselves. So this is a chart of all the pavement, and these textures match the drawing. Another thing you could do is chart compared to a major area. So we want to see how much of the site is actually taken in the ponding, and you can see the ponding is 8.7% of the site, and then the numbers come off like that. Or you could put a bunch of things in there compared to a major area, and then you want to see what's the compared to the site is, and you can choose anything in there. What are your buildings? What are they a percentage of the total site? So this is the way, easy way you can communicate easy information with charts. For this next example, we're going to use Transona at Vieira, which is near Melbourne, Florida. It was a neighborhood that was completely designed using LandMentor and the advanced training that's available for the proverbial planning methods. Now, I want to do a count of the different unit types. So I'll go in a chart. I will go to count pie and down to the different unit types. So those are the single family home units. I'm going to move them over to the selected, selected, and you can see the different units. You'll see there's 703 of them, but more important, it gives you the number breakdown and it gives you the percentage. So we know we have 703 lots. Another way to do a unit or a lot or a separation of any type would be a bar chart. So I'll do the same thing with a bar chart. I'm going to put the same homes to the right, and you can see it will be shown in a bar chart. Same data, but in more of a bar format. I prefer the pie chart. Some might prefer the bar chart. Now, we know we have 703 units, which means we have 703 lots. And what I want to do now is do an area pie of the open space per unit. So I've got the area pie. I'll put in my 703 units, and I'm going to select common area. I'm going to move that over to the right, and I'm going to go down and move my park over to the right. And then what it gives you is the amount of common area and then dedicated park. And you can see we have 292 square feet per unit of the common area or the park, and 4,600 of common area. Or another thing you could do is pretty comprehensive, is do an area pie, same 703 units. And now we're going to do a different paving thing, like internal street pavement. So I'm going to move that over, meandering sidewalk. See what we've got for Wickham is the existing street, and we've got the main trail, and we've got 28-foot wide public street inside there, and I think that's it for the pavement. Hit selected, and the important numbers are here. This is the per home, what you're building per square foot. This is a really good way to show you the efficiency of the neighborhood. So those are different ways you use chart. When you get into the prompt, you can see there's format options for sorting on the list, and also you could export that list to a text file that you could read in some kind of a Excel spreadsheet or something. So that's the lessons on the charting. So let's get back to where we were on our lesson where we created the environmental density in a chart, and we want to place that on a plan. So what I'm going to do is look for an area of space that might make sense. And I'm want to get a kind of the ratio of what's seen on the screen, and I'm going to get a box of about the same kind of ratio and zoom up in an area, and I'm going to go to images, under edit, images, add an image, and we've got beginning step 10 environmental density. That should show up. and then I want to use foreground, underlay, or background. If you use underlay, it will be behind the drawing, so the line work won't disappear. And you move it around, and you can use the upper and lower arrow buttons on your keyboard to resize, but it kind of appears that it won't interfere with other line work, and then I'll set it. So that's how you get a chart, or even we do title blocks, notes, and PowerPoint, and put them on the plan. So it's easy as that, and you could do as many as you want. Now I would recommend not mixing underlay and foreground too much. There's two different ways you could do it. Do one or the other, and that's how you get the information easily out of the drawing and then put it easily into your chart. So here we have a site plan that was developed in LandMentor using the techniques. You can see we pulled in a chart, a pie chart. The title block here that was just done all in PowerPoint. And then as we pan over, these 3Ds were done in LandMentor, and then we took it to PowerPoint and added notes and then brought that in as an image. So each one of these explains features and benefits of the plan that there's no way you could ever derive that looking at a 2D plan bird's eye view. So what we're going to do here is do the final touch, edit, images, add a north arrow, and we bring in the north arrow. I understand you might have your own north arrow, and then set it. These north arrows, any north arrow that looks like this, has been derived originally in the 1960s from Don Geek and Associates, and we've been using that in software for the last 40 years that we've been developing it. They all have similar looks. Of course, this one looks a little bit nicer in LandMentor, but if you see that north arrow, you probably know someone or used the software that we had developed in the past. So, text, I'm going to do a special text, edit, text, special text, add scale text. So what scale text is text that's tied into the scale here. So if I change the scale to say to 60 on the next screen refresh, that changes. So scale text is a pretty cool feature that will let you change the scale and you never have to worry about that text. So that's pretty cool. So when you look at a drawing that comes from LandMentor versus a drawing from the past, you're looking at something that's laden with information. The next question you probably have is, well, how did we get there? How did we get to those 3Ds? And how difficult or how much time consuming does it take? Well, to develop the 3D on this plan took about a half an hour. So the more information you have, the slower it will move, because it does use video gaming and it does render live action. So using detailed trees like this, they look great. They will hit the brakes on movement. So what we do in the instructions that we're going to teach you is how to be a little bit quicker. And if you see motion in movies in 3D, those are using a screen capture software like Camtasia, the software that's this presentation, these instructions have been developed with. So the next step and the next learning part of this session is going to be how to create the 3Ds. I'm going to show you just real. At this stage, I want you to call in from your file beginning step 12. Now remember, do not update the file of 11 when you bring in 12. And you'll see a screen that looks like this. When you look at the screen, you'll notice paved areas are included, and you notice this building is included. We're going to use a massing for the building. We're going to bring in 3D models for these other structures. And you'll notice the topography. So I'm going to do Z, P, zoom previous, that's a new one that we just taught you. And I'm going to go into VR3D. All you'll need to do is get the elements that you want active, the surfaces that you want to overlay on the digital terrain model. Hit compile. It will automatically update. Say yes. No harm in it. It'll add a underscore 3D to the file name, so it won't override your file. It will create a new one that you use for 3D purposes, and it'll ask you if you want contour lines. Doesn't hurt to say yes. If there's no contour lines being shown, it might not ask you that. And then what it does is it goes through everything that is colored or textured, overlays that over the digital terrain model, and then after it goes through each one of the elements, it's going to then do the site if it's active. Now, on some of your example files, it may or may not be active on the base site. Some it is, and after it takes all of the man-made items, it'll put the site in, and then any peripheral triangles that fall outside the site in the digital terrain model, it will do those separately. And then you'll see a screen, it's going to look green, or it's going to look something like this, and you'll hit the forward arrow, the up arrow on your keyboard to get looking at the site. The left arrow will move left, the right arrow will move right, and then the forward arrow will continue moving. If you hit shift down, it will go fast, and then you'll see this massing, which was the 3D model of the building. That's how the 3D is created, and that's how your initial movements will be. So I'm going to hit escape and go back to the plan. You'll see this building here. Now, how do we get those images on there? Well, I'm going to go into the fill. First of all, I'm going to see what the fill is, so I'm going to hit report, query click, and that is retail. So I'll go to fills, and I'm going to look for the word retail. Okay, I've got it, and if I double click it, I pulled in an image of a storefront, and that's tiled. I wanted every 20 foot, just paint this on the side of that building, and I put the building as 20 foot high, and it just replicates that around the building. So when I go back to the 3D, you could see it looks kind of like a storefront, but it's also kind of a quick, dumb way to make a building without having to mess with a 3D model.